open up the meeting. Admit all. Where's the admit all button? There it is. Okay, everyone, thank you. We call this meeting of the Clinton Conservation Commission on November 15th to order. First item on our agenda is a continuation for a notice of intent at Woodland Circle and Glenwood Drive. Do we have anybody here for that? DeShang?
Yes, I was trying to get on and I thought maybe I get the wrong information. I just couldn't get it in and finally.
Nope, just waiting for a quorum. I figure it's better just to have everybody hang out than all stare at each other and blink while we wait.
All right, okay. No, I was getting nervous because I would try my phone, try everything. I just couldn't.
I posted a chat in the meeting, the waiting room, so I'm sorry that you didn't see that.
Yeah, I cannot see it. It just was like a spin, you know, like, okay. Okay, good evening. Let me where to start. So we filed this notice of intent in March, and then after site visit, DEP wanted us to provide an updated stormwater management report.
Well, we also, you didn't provide, so let's just to clarify, this filing is for a stormwater basin, and a stormwater report was not submitted to the to DEP or to the Concom. Both DEP and the Concom requested and required a stormwater report as a complete filing. So it was not a complete filing until we received the stormwater report. Go on.
Right. No, if we're confusing, we did send in the original stormwater report. Okay, so they want an updated one. That's the actual real situation. So, and because of the old report, it was tangled, everything of the whole development was not just for Glenwood Drive, Glenwood Lane. So that's the actual true story. And then we did finish it. In the process, we found that the original study didn't have any soil testing data in the proposed stormwater basin area. And during our soil testing, we found the ledge was shallower, so and it will require 12-foot blasting. So we modified it, but in general, it's in the same location. I can share my screen to go over.
Please.
Okay, let me see.
So just while you're doing that, a couple things to note. You don't have a file number, so we won't be able to close and move on tonight. We only received this last week and really haven't had a chance to go through it thoroughly. My feeling, just upon skimming it and a few items that I noted that may not meet the standards, my feeling is that we're going to ask for a third-party review on this.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So well, as I said, the basic design was not really anything changed from the original approved project. So the subdivision had, as we stated last time, have a slightly less impervious area from the Glenwood section, which is basically the current. Let me see if I can enlarge to the full size of it. Right. So this is the Glenwood. If I want to enlarge it, so it comes in, and then so those units is all there. The original design basically the same location, but it's just they didn't have the soil testing. This section was much shallower with the ledge, and this is in a much lower grade. So we made a very broad shallow swale coming in, which will catch in pretty much the same stormwater. So if I'm going, if you can go to the watershed plan, you will see the watershed coming here to this basin at the pink area. So we shifted And then also we are, so this, if you're looking at it, we have sediment basin. And so also have a long swale behind those houses. So we didn't really change anything, to be honest, from the road drainage. So I don't know, I don't see any difference from the previous approved plan. From the, we used the new NOAA Atlas 14. And so that's basically the difference. If there's anything, we change it, as I said, it's basically the basin. So I don't see any difference from the compliance. Last time, the stormwater management standards, pretty much the same, didn't really change in so significant, except that the recharge requirement was updated, I believe, from the previous design. And the precipitation data is updated by the NOAA Atlas 14, which we applied and complied with it fully. So, but we were waiting for the peer review to comment on it. So other than that, I don't think we changed anything. So we separated the watershed from the previous one. So if you're looking, this is the watershed area contributing to Clamshell Pond side. So including this section, which is currently open, which we assumed it as part of it. And then in the future, if a new pond design there, which will correspond to whatever the proposed activity will be proposed for a new filing. And we actually did yesterday we did a soil testing in pond 4 area, which is roughly here. And then in pond 3 area is in the back part around here. So just to get ready, so.
And where, just because there were some questions about that soil testing that occurred, where is the soil testing in reference to the 100-foot buffer zone?
See the 100-foot buffer zones here, the testing is in this area.
Okay, so the outside of jurisdiction, what about on the other side?
The same thing, so we,
Okay.
yeah, we would, so yeah, if you see here, the testing is very close to this area. So it's basically next to the big basin, so.
So I had another question for you, Desheng. When you first, started the talk tonight, you mentioned that the old design came into contact with bedrock and it was 12 feet down. So
Yeah, it was in, so, well,
why
no.
was- do you know why the
So they are proposing a very deep basin, which will require a ledge removal for 12 feet in this area.
okay,
And we made the basin shallower, but expanded more toward this end. So
Okay.
that we provide the equivalent storage. I actually calculated the total storage is, it's very close. And then actually, I mean, there will be a question asking is, how come the Atlas is much more precipitation?
Sure.
Because that precipitation applied to both existing and the proposed conditions. So it means you can let more water go under the Atlas 14. So, and under the old, then you have less water go out. So it's basically for this type of design, I have been doing this one. So since 1993, when Cornell, the Atlas 14 was based on the Northeast, starting from the Cornell University. At that time, they already had that kind of interim report. We tried a few times on that. It's basically, it will matters for like in a culvert under the roadway, because if the flow, absolute flow increases, that culvert will be bigger. But for detention pond, if they apply to proposed condition, they also apply to the existing. So it means the more comes, the more will let it go. So the general.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning detention basin. So throughout the report, the stormwater BMP is referred to as a detention basin and also as an infiltration basin. it can't be both. So I'm presuming this is supposed to be an infiltration basin.
Well, so detention basin can have, the static storage area is actually is more than required recharge. They do have, so that's what just like in the terms how people use it. For, dry detention basin do provide infiltration. So that's why in my career, early days, I don't really differentiate that much to, to the names. So, but if we need to use one or the other, I would call it, if you go look at it, we have a significant storage from the overflow, from the invert. But the basin set 4 feet above the tested estimated high groundwater. And we also did a groundwater mounting just to check in. So
I
from
did see that you
DEP,
have that. I did see
yeah,
your.
DEP doesn't really require it if you have 4-foot groundwater separation, but this is a huge basin and with a huge static storage. So that's why I still did a check and just to make sure, you know.
Okay. What is your pre-treatment for the infiltration basin?
So there's no difference from the quality perspective. If we call infiltration basin, that's probably you are thinking of may not comply. Maybe the original they only called as
Well,
a detention basin.
The reason I'm asking is because your TSS chart, in order to get 80% infiltration off of an infiltration basin, it requires pre-treatment. So what is the pre-treatment for the infiltration basin?
Yeah, the pre-treatment is 2. So it's so the low drainage deep sump catch basin and go into pretty much separated big forebay, which is much bigger than actually required forebay.
Okay, so you have a sediment forebay. Great.
Yeah, it has, and then they go into a not. So this is all separated by a good 5-6 foot of berms. So they're almost like a little basin in the forebay cell. It's almost like as a basin. So in a way, so this two adding together is a 44% removal, whether you consider that's infiltration basin or not. If you consider as just a extended dry detention basin, they don't even require 44%. So I looking from both ways, it's will meet the TSS removal rate.
Okay, thanks, Sheng. I think that's most of my questions. I think there was some discrepancy on whether or not it meets standard 2, but we're gonna get a third-party review on it, so this is just more for a
Yeah,
conversation.
the two is I use about the peak flow. So in the DEP stormwater management standards, they don't actually have a volume requirement. So I always calculated, if you look in, I can share with you on the report part. So the volume is just very minor increase, but the peak is significantly less. We did all from 2 year to 100. So it's actually, if I don't do the middle ones, it's the middle ones is like a little bit, but for 100 year is perfect match for volume. But for peak, that's what the standard 2 actually requires. The peak discharge for 2 to 100 year storm less than existing. They don't have a volume requirement. The volume only required for recharge to the groundwater, which we are far more than required if you're looking at. Just the static volume itself will meet the recharge requirement. And so it means we don't even need to count on the infiltration for that purpose.
Any questions from anybody else or comments from anybody else on the commission?
No, aside from we're waiting on the DP, everything you already highlighted, and I would also be leaning towards the peer review.
Do we take a,
Yeah,
Can I make a motion to go out to peer review? I mean, third party review.
do I have a second? do we have a, Dawn, or would you be interested in seconding a motion for a peer review on the stormwater report?
Yeah, I second. Sorry.
Okay, take a vote. Rebecca,
Aye.
Dawn.
Aye.
Okay, so we will get a peer review on that.
How we expecting? I know the next hearing is at December 20th.
So we'll have our town support send out a bid to three agencies and hope we get something back.
Okay, well, no,
So
that's-
motion to continue?
Do we want to have questions tonight, or do we want to wait till we get to the peer review?
I think
Yeah.
until we get the third party review, because we might get answers to some of those questions. That's my thought anyway.
I
Would
would
that-
entertain a brief Q&A, just a brief, if there's any specifically related to Wetlands Protection Act, this stormwater basin only questions from folks that have joined the meeting for this hearing.
If I may just comment quickly
Sure.
about the peer review, so how we definitely want to, so probably clear define that, so for when we solicit the proposal, so we want to confine this reviews to comply with the stormwater management, the current standards. I assume, so we are
Yep.
not trying to go back into all those old projects.
No, just the stormwater
Just
report
the space,
submitted for this stormwater basin. The other stuff's
Right.
already built.
right,
You
And
have a COC, you have a
COC.
partial COC from the Department of Environmental
Right.
Protection. So that's just not, we're not reopening that box. We're
yeah,
looking at this
okay,
basin and this stormwater report.
right, okay. No,
Why? Is there something we should be concerned about, Deshang?
No, because the thing is, when people go looking things, they say, oh, this is a whole project, but we need to understand that it was, the entire
We-
project had
We'll do it off of
7.
what you submitted tonight, what you submitted on this last week, this report and that set
At
of
the plan, okay.
All right, do you have any if there's folks here from the public for this particular hearing that have specific questions about the stormwater report and this stormwater basin, feel free to raise your hand or speak up. We'll give it another 30 seconds. If I don't hear anything or see anything, we'll have to move on. Okay, Sherry, go ahead. You gotta unmute.
So, hi, Kim, thank you. What does this mean exactly? Because it sounds like it's still not A-OK approved with the Conservation Committee. So does this mean
So
that,
we're the Conservation Commission. Right now, the new information was introduced.
Okay.
We discussed the new information. We don't have a file number from DEP, which means they haven't completed their cursory technical review, and we can't move forward without that. And we're also getting a peer review on the information that was submitted. So
Okay.
we will be continuing pending that file number and pending that peer review.
okay. So does that mean, Kim, that no activity is supposed to be going on at site?
No, it means that they can't build this stormwater basin until we approve the plan and design. If there's activity going on in the woodlands, which I've received some complaints about work, Deshang pointed out where that was on the map, and it's outside of our 100-foot buffer zone to the pond, which means it's outside of the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction.
It's just for soil testing, which is kind of under the wetlands protection is
You don't-
even exempted.
We don't have oversight of the entire woodlands development complex. We only have jurisdiction over 100 feet from the top of bank from Clamshell Pond. and if there's any, I can't remember what there was for fringing BBW, but we've already, like, that part is just not part of our jurisdiction. I know there's a lot going on with it, and I know there's a lot of concern, but we have a limited scope of area that's within our jurisdiction.
Yeah, actually, at this point, it's not really activities on the site, except that the recent yesterday's soil testing, because of the same token that we have to redesign it. Otherwise, we would just submitted the original plan, but obviously from the experience of dealing with Glenwood Drive Lane, we know we will have to redesign it based on on-site soil testing data. So that's why we moved forward to get those data. And so hopefully when we are settled with Glenwood Lane, we can move forward with the design of those two ponds. So that's the only purpose.
Thank you, Kim.
Anybody else? Stormwater basin questions. Go ahead, Todd.
Hi, just a process question. I understand you're going to a third-party review. Does that mean they're not approved until your next meeting in December, if all goes well?
Yeah, I guess if you want the short way of saying yes, they do not have, we have not closed the hearing and voted to issue any sort of order of conditions approving the work to build a stormwater basin.
Okay, and for the information of people in our community, when they get your approval, what is their next step?
That's once they pass the Conservation Commission, I presume there's building permits they may need to secure, but that's beyond my area.
Okay, so you're unaware what they have to do to satisfy the town of Clinton to take the next step?
I'm just on the Conservation Commission, Todd.
Understood. No.
So yes, in terms of next steps, unless it's specific to conservation jurisdiction, we wouldn't be discussing it here. So what you're hearing is how it's going to be proceeding. And as you've already heard, we're going to be continuing this until our next meeting. So if you're curious about what happens at the next meeting, I would encourage you to attend that meeting.
Right, and my question is simply which commission or board has jurisdiction next?
That I would suggest you call the building department and ask that question.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, do I have a motion to continue?
Motion to continue until the December meeting.
A second.
All in favor, roll call, aye. Don,
Aye.
Rebecca,
Aye.
okay, thank you so much. We'll see you next month, Desheng.
You. So will keep us posted,
Yep.
so whatever. Progress.
We'll send a message out once we have an idea of what's going on with a peer review. Everybody's so busy these days.
I know, that's my concern. Myself is totally jammed. I mean, I say, if you want me to do another one, I say, I'll probably have it, it'll be a 2 months. And,
Well, we'll see what happens. We can always, if the peer review doesn't come back, we can you guys request a continuance, so you don't have to come and say, see, you know.
yeah, or to start, do we have any town engineer or contracted town engineer?
No.
Okay, yeah, I feel this case should be relatively simple.
I understand, Desheng.
Because
We're
it's already
gonna kick
done.
all the tires on this. You know, I know the standards, but I'm not an engineer, and I just like to have a peer review on this.
Yeah, it's not like in a significant change even in any layout of the.
Well,
the
we've
development.
continued this so we can have this conversation next month.
Okay.
Thanks
okay,
for your time.
great. Thank you.
Okay, I am not, I have next on the agenda 474 Main Street. We normally get a formal request for continuance from this group. This is out for peer review right now. We haven't received any information on it. I don't see any of the normal reps that I would for this hearing, so I am going to continue it to later in the meeting in case anybody shows up. But if you are here, 474 Main Street, Jacksonville, please speak up. But I'm presuming that there's nobody here for that, so I'm going to move on to Rauscher Farm. Hey, Jim. Hey, Gloria.
Hello.
Hello. I thought that Dave Sadowski might have been here, but I don't see him on the list of participants. So, Dave, are you there?
I don't see him either. Well, I saw Dave's iPhone, but I thought that might be our Dave, but it might be your Dave. But I
Dave,
don't anymore.
okay, because I was looking at our Dave's telephone, number, and I don't see it on any of these telephone numbers here. So
We may
So
not need him tonight. I think what we were waiting for, so do you mind if I just fill in the record of what's occurred? So
Yeah.
we had a site visit in October, don't remember when. And do you remember the date?
it was just I did note it in my October report to this meeting that then couldn't happen because there wasn't a quorum.
Yes.
So yeah, there was a site visit. Oh God, it was on a Sunday morning.
Was.
Yes.
And
It had to
was,
have been it would have had to have been the 22nd.
Mhm.
uh,
I'm looking for my calendar here.
It would have had to be the 22nd.
you know what? I've got it in a report I sent you last meeting. I think I noted it down, the date. Okay, so it would have been just after. Oh, my dear. If I can find my report from last month, I think I gave the full date on it there. Do you need to know this now?
No, I'm pretty sure it was the 22nd. Just looking at the calendar because I know where I was in October, and that would have been the only day that we could have done it before the next hearing. So
Okay.
22nd Sunday, we had a site visit. We went out to Rauscher Farms. We looked at the proposed crossing over the vegetated channel, and we talked about design. And I think that we left it that we would like you to submit your closest proposed design of the style of bridge that would completely span this channel.
And I sent you pictures, and Jim can show them to
Yeah.
you now.
For the record, Jim, would you be able to
Yeah.
share them?
If I
Yes.
can,
And they were,
I have to figure out a share. Give me a second here. Share.
and they were, I submitted them to you on the Monday before your Wednesday, October meeting.
Yep.
So yeah, so this is,
We can see now what I'm sharing. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, we can
Okay.
see double
And-
rail pedestrian trail bridge.
right, now what you're looking at, because this can be made ADA accessible. They don't have pictures to show that. But
They'll,
in
they'll remove the arch and make it flat.
the whole thing goes flat.
Yeah.
Right. It gets supported underneath. And this was a gentleman I talked to in 2021, and then I contacted him again just before the October meeting,
Mhm.
and to check that it was still, available. And they said that they do a lot of ADA stuff for trails and golf courses and this sort of thing. So, and the reason why originally 2021, we looked at this is because we were looking at maintenance. So, it is low maintenance and it has the Trex, although they're going to call it something else, the project manager told me. So we also sent you last month. Jim, can you show the other, the wooden one?
Wait a minute, it's here someplace. This is a company in the west coast of Canada, so they wouldn't be able to, I don't think they'd be able to deliver here, but in concept, there might be other local builders who could do something like this, which is an all wood bridge. But we'd have to find a supplier for one that could actually deliver to Clinton if we wanted to go that route instead of the one we just showed you.
And again, you can see for this type of design, though, it is wooden and therefore so is the bridge part. And we're really interested in having that Trex non-slip surface for the ADA aspects of this project. And also with the wooden bridge, there's going to be maintenance costs. So given our druthers, we're in favor of, go back, Jim, to the first one that would be customized. And again, I talked to the gentleman at the company, the firm, they said they couldn't show us what it would look like because we'd have to pay $400 for them to show a picture. And we don't actually have that money yet until we come out of this situation of the NOI hearing, because at that point, the whole project gets turned over to the town because the project is over $50,000 and therefore goes to the town building committee. They in turn then put it out to a contractor who would then be responsible for doing all the bid process for the town and then implementing it. And the funding for this is what was discovered to still be in the town purchase money of Rauscher Farm. And so there was an article, not this June, the June before, that then allowed what was left over in that budget to be repurposed, to be used, because it could only be used for Rauscher Farm, and that it would be used to make ADA accessibility on Rauscher Farm. So there is funding for the project. So we did meet, Jim, Dave Sadowski, and myself, and we thought it would be advisable not to, I think you had said you didn't need to see the plants on the side that we have in the design, the seeding, for the wetland plants. We all felt it would be advisable not to take them out because given climate change and everything else, if they are in the design and we need to do something, then we don't have to come back and do a whole NOI process just to be able to get more seeding in that area. So we kept it as, so the design you see is the design, and this is what we're advising, recommending would be the type of crossing with the surface
Right.
and low maintenance.
So if we were talking out loud and jump in here, Rebecca and Dave, or Dawn, sorry. If we keep a mitigation area on the plans and that's in your order of conditions as something that you are required to do, and we come to the certificate of compliance phase and it's not done, then we can't give you a certificate of compliance. I'm not sure that I'm not following why we would want to keep a replication area in if it's not needed.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm also with you, but I'm curious if because it's replication and it's in excess of what's being explained is it's in excess of what's required or what they would like to do, could we write a condition where it says a replication area of up to so many plants?
Yeah. And we wouldn't
so
even
that it gives them some variability.
we wouldn't even want to call it a replication area because they don't have BVW fill. It's all buffer zone.
Can I just make one other observation? Because I don't know if this is so, but if you look at that area now,
Do you have
It's
the
all-
plans? Do you have the
Yeah.
plan? Just-
yeah, Jim, can you
Yeah, the plan, just a second, I'm getting it.
what is happening, by observation, it's almost turning into a monoculture.
Mm,
And
Try and make
part
it big.
and part of our brief is to introduce diversity
Mhm.
on Rutland Farm. So if you go up there in the fall, it's beautiful, but it's just goldenrod, going bananas, right? I've got the photograph somewhere to show it. So I
Yeah, so
think
this is the replication area on the plan right now. Here,
we can't see it, love, yet.
I can blow it up.
No, I'm still looking at the bridge.
Oh, you can't see it. Oh, funny, I see it on my screen. So why is that?
We are viewing.
You
Oh,
may be,
wait.
you may be sharing the,
I have to go back to share again. Is that how that
yeah,
works?
you may be sharing the program versus your screen. So you might be sharing like a particular window and not just your screen, so you can't move between.
Oh, yeah, you're sharing Jim's screen is what the bridge says.
Okay, and I just don't know how to do that because I'm looking at it on
Just
my
to-
screen. I don't
just-
know how to.
Just stop sharing and then share again.
Okay. And share again.
So-
And a minute. There it is. There we are.
Okay. There's the
I'm trying to navigate this thing. Oh, here. So here's the replication area right here.
and what we have right now up there is we have to stop, to direct the foot traffic to Clamshell Pond. We blocked off that says that area, and what's happened is it's been very happy because it used to have people would go through it as the float. So that area has become exceedingly delighted by the fact that no one's trampling through it.
Yes. Sometimes when we have these impacts like that, and there's still a significant seed bank of all the other existing plant varieties, it will just regenerate itself. And that's very clearly what's luckily happened here.
So just to come back to, so would we now need to have to go back and redo the whole design and
I think because it's a
then
minor,
there's-
I think Rebecca, I agree with what Rebecca was suggesting, is that we write a condition that allows Rauscher Farms to do some plantings in the proposed area to introduce some species diversity. So we
yes,
could write it that way and
That would be great.
and call it, and then make a note that it's no longer considered a replication area, as no BVW impact is proposed, and it's more of a, I guess we would say restoration or something like that.
You could call it a resiliency plant, climate resiliency planting
that
Right.
would be great,
as well.
really,
An enhancement or something along those lines.
because we are embarking on doing a climate resiliency review for all of the habitats on Rauscher Farm.
Okay.
The climate resiliency is really, and as I say, that so this can stand. We just leave this as it is. Okay. So so we believe what we have done, what was requested from that site visit. And we have all the other pieces good to go in terms of handing this over now to the town to execute it. It's
I think you fulfilled all of our questions as well. That's my
okay.
opinion.
I would
So-
agree.
So, has anybody joined us tonight to talk about or ask any questions about this particular project, the Rauscher Farms flat path to Clamshell Pond bridge installation? My guess is no. So do I have a motion to close the public?
Motion to close.
Okay,
Second, a second.
all in favor? Aye, Don,
Aye.
Rebecca,
Aye.
great.
May I ask, sorry, yeah. May I just ask one, just to educate me and Jim? I mean, Dave Sadowski might have known this, but we don't. What happens, you write up something and you send it to the Rauscher Farm Management Subcommittee? Is that what happens now?
So
And I shouldn't I shouldn't pass this on to the town until I have that document. Is that
Doesn't-
correct?
it doesn't
doesn't-
matter.
Okay,
So
right.
the next step is, you guys can proceed, however, you just can't proceed with construction until you receive the order of
Okay.
conditions and it's recorded. So we'll draft up an order of conditions that summarizes what work you can do, like construction period, things, and then those conditions that Rebecca and I were kicking around, those would be included as special conditions that govern
Okay.
how this project will proceed
Great.
once it's constructed. But
It's actually going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
the behind the scenes procurement stuff, we don't care.
Okay,
You guys do what you need to do. You just
Yeah.
can't, you can't put a shovel in the ground until you get the order.
no, well, and I know, and I'm sure the town will know that anyway, because they must deal with this all the time. But I will remind them, the difficulty will be the superintendent, Department of Public Works is actually retiring up, and he knows the project very, very well. So it was very good for me to be able to contact him even the day before he retires, so that it can get onto their docket, so to speak. Which is great. It's going to happen. Yeah, thank you.
So
Thank you very much.
we gotta vote. We still have things to vote
Oh,
on.
well, we don't
sorry.
thank you yet then.
So, motion to approve and issue an order of conditions with special conditions to be outlined by the person making the motion.
Motion to approve with special condition that there be a climate resiliency planting as shown on the plans.
A second.
Another condition to generalize the type of bridge as documented by.
Thanks. That a bridge shall be installed either construction plan as shown at today's meeting. The material or the construction of the crossing is a pedestrian footbridge and may be ADA compliant.
B. It must be ADA compliant.
Must be.
It must be
Yeah,
ADA.
sorry, that's
That's okay.
To consist of wood and Trex or other and those materials, but not pressure treated wood.
okay.
Correct. No pressure treated wood. And do we want to say anything about sonotubes?
It's not on sonotubes. It's on
Okay.
it's on a concrete block in buffer zone.
Okay.
Okay, I think we've got all of that.
Yes.
Roll call vote. Aye. Don,
Aye.
Rebecca.
Aye.
Okay, great. All done.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
I will still be here, but I will disappear. And if you think, but I won't be paying attention. So if you are approaching the Rauscher Farm Management Subcommittee earlier than you anticipate,
Yeah.
could you text me?
I can do that.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you,
So-
Gloria.
So thank you all. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. I'll just disappear now.
Moving on, we have a continuance for 250 Coach Lakes Pond.
Unmute. There we go. Hi, this is Isaac. I'm on here, and I know Steve Poole is on as well.
So I do see an S pool.
That's Poole. He should be on here. I'm trying to turn my video on, but it's not working. Allow. Steve, are you on?
Here we go. Yep.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
Right, and Isaac, if you're on a laptop and it looks like your screen is on, if you have one of those sliders over your camera, that
No,
can be why your camera is not appearing as on.
I don't have one of those. That's
Okay,
oh,
that's just a
someone doesn't
common
have
thing
those.
that I see.
Okay.
Okay, so let's catch everybody and ourselves up here. So the last time we met, we saw you guys in September, I believe. And then Don, Dave, who's not here, and I went out for a site visit. And we did it by ourselves because nobody showed up. So we, I think I spoke to you on the phone, Isaac, and then we
Yes.
just walked the site. We found the marker pole posts that had been described to us as the 100-foot buffer zone, and you know, we're able to kind of orient ourselves with the plans. So I think that there wasn't any. Don, if you want to jump in here from your recollection as well, I don't think there were any major red flags in terms of the location of the site. I think what I recall we wanted to talk about was what is proposed, if anything, down gradient of the 100-foot buffer zone. One, I had sent some very cursory comments on the stormwater report over to you, Steve. You wrote back in an email, but I was expecting revised documents. So I will defer to the commission on thoughts as well. And then I think there was some discussion about just an invasive species management plan, just due to the sheer amount of multiflora rose and knotweed on that site. So anyone else can jump in at this point.
All right. The limit of work that we have, I think, is pretty hard and fast. We're not proposing anything down beyond that.
Okay, so no access to the lake, no beaches, no
No,
paths.
no. If for some time in the future, if they want to do that, we'll have to come back to that. But that's not part of the plan right now. So,
Okay.
yeah, there is a tremendous amount of knotweed in through there. It's almost impenetrable. And you know, so we're gonna we did do. I think Isaac, we did get the front part of it cleared out.
Yes, yeah, we did take down some trees up at the front so that we could gain access there a little bit.
And that's outside of our jurisdiction, so I
right.
I don't have a comment on that.
Yeah,
My comment is I
so
have no comment.
so we've got to do a lot of cutting of knotweed and excavating to get that material out. So
Yeah.
we can
What
work
is-
on an invasive management plan. We can get you know, Ecotech to come up with something for that.
That'd be good. I think it would be, I think that's important just because there is a tremendous seed bank and rhizosomal bank of the knotweed. And when you guys are cutting it down and disposing of it, we'd just really like to see a best management practice plan for that as part of the work going forward.
Yeah.
I would agree. That needs to be a requirement.
Yep, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, and we did submit additional information on the stormwater plan to DEP, and I thought I sent you a copy of that.
So what I got from
Above.
the most recent email I have from you in the Conservation Commission email is from October 4th. And there is a PDF attached of your
Soils report, yeah.
soil report. Is that the only thing that you sent to DEP?
No, I sent them a whole bunch of stuff with,
To me as well. We would love to.
I thought I sent it to you also, but I can get that for you.
Okay, that would be great. So, I think anybody else have any questions or want to chime in here? Dawn, you had a great time climbing that fence. I know you did. You're on mute if you're.
Sure, they're getting rid of the fence.
Are you getting rid of the chain link fence? So, I lost my train of thought. My
We
tra-
didn't see, we didn't know the driveway went around the other side, so we went the hard way.
we were looking for
The,
somebody.
the
I think that was
driveway is
the part.
kind of invisible with all the weeds in it growing up.
We were also just, so from what I recall, we were looking for the post, the demarcating post in the back right corner. So we went down, like thinking about it back right, we looked at it and we went to the right. But the back right corner is if you're looking at the street. So, so when it was described, whoever described it was looking at it as if they were looking out to the street. But anyway, so we're gonna be waiting on a invasive species management plan here. And you have additional information to send over that you sent to DEP. So it feels like we should probably continue until we get all that information. But I'm really glad that we were able to meet and catch each other up on what the progress is. What does everybody else think?
I would agree with that. I think that's a good plan going forward.
I agree.
Okay, did you guys have any other questions for us or want to throw any other information out there? I don't think that the hurdle is high at this point.
Okay. What are the odds of us going ahead with the demolition of the building? Once we get the erosion controls in?
Is it outside of the 100-foot buffer zone?
Unfortunately, most of it is, but not completely.
Yeah, that would be
Well, let
my
me-
answer as well.
Let me rephrase. Can we go down in the back and start clearing out the knotweed and whatnot? And
That would be my biggest concern. I would, without that, best management practice involved in your invasive species removal, I would say no.
What about just the asbestos removal portion of the building that
That's inside of the building, right?
inside and there's a little bit on the roof as well, but
Not within our purview.
okay. All right.
As long as you have DEP, Board of Health, building inspector approval to do that, that's outside of our purview. So,
Okay.
Yeah, just make sure you, as Kim already highlighted, just make sure that you're getting those other department approvals prior.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't be, that particular item wouldn't be jurisdictional to us, so you wouldn't be waiting on us for that aspect. But just please store anything that's coming out, like a dumpster or anything like that, outside of the 100-foot buffer during
Okay.
that process.
Got it.
yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. The front of the building is well outside the 100-foot buffer. So-
I think that's fine. Basically, if it could cause erosion or includes earthwork or vegetation removal, it's not ours. So you guys you can work outside of the 100-foot buffer and you can do work to and on the building. Just you can't
Make it go away.
make it go away yet.
All right, because
Okay.
yeah, that was my next question. We probably will do some work outside the buffer up in the front of the lot to clear it up and store material and whatnot.
That's outside of our purview, so feel free. Maybe install some erosion control, just, in case.
Yep.
All right, very good. Thank
Cool.
you.
All right, so motion to continue,
Motion to continue until the next meeting.
second,
I second.
all in favor, aye, Dawn,
Aye.
Rebecca.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll keep an eye out for those materials.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay, new business. Sort. So we have a notice of intent for 42 Henry Street.
Good evening.
Hi, Brian. Hi, George.
Hello.
We have been waiting for this one. So
I
we're
know
so
it's been a
excited-
while.
we're So excited to see what you have proposed for us.
Yeah, so good evening. My name is Ryan Rosine. I'm with Goddard Consultant here representing George, the applicant. I can share my screen of the plan that we had submitted if that's good. You guys can see this okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so as you know, a little bit of background, and you guys know this was originally an enforcement order. I think about this time last year,
Mhm.
for the importation of a bunch of fill in this area. As you can see, it's created this large slope here. And it was basically to create a more level backyard area. So we have the Nashua River here, to 100-foot, 200 riverfront area. The house partially goes through the riverfront area. So it's not that much degraded area inside the riverfront area. And so as you know, George had installed erosion control immediately, put the erosion control mats on it, and had been it's been stable ever since. So I'll go down to the proposed conditions. So like I had stated, it's mainly to just make a more level yard due to the site conditions and the slope down towards the river. So this whole area that's where the work is proposed is it's already disturbed, it's lawn. You can see the existing tree line along here. That's the forest. So what the plan is to use the material that was brought in, and I think additional material would need to be brought in as well, to create, you know, this large slope down here, you know, closer to the river, and then these more level areas that are, you know, kind of steps around. So this is much more, you know, closer to the house, more level area here, and you know, gradually kind of steps down, and then this larger slope. And so for this larger slope, we're proposing it to be use the Celtec grid stabilization system. So that's a detail of it here. So it gets put on the slope, it gets anchored in with rebar J hooks, and then you infill those with topsoil, and then we'll seed over it with a native meadow mix and just let it be. So I can quickly go back up here, and then I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. So along the top of the slope, since it is a fairly steep slope, we're proposing a post and rail split rail fence for safety reasons and just as a physical demarcation of, you know, to not go beyond that area and not to manage that area once it's planted.
Where's your 100-foot? Where's your 100?
So the 100-foot is right here, this dotted line right here. Actually, if I can go to, I had another file open that did it, but it's hard to see, but it's this area here. So barely comes right at this way. So it is a little bit within the 100-foot riverfront area. This area is already sort of lawn and area, so we're just making it into meadow habitat here, and then it'll be left alone. So then there won't be any disturbance within the 100-foot. Yep, there we go. And then over here, this is really the only new impervious surfaces. It's a small retaining wall on this side to create more of a level side area along this side of the house here. And then a number of trees on this side, they're not shown on the plan, I believe are proposed to be removed. I'm not sure on the sizes of those or anything. And then planting these green arborvitaes in this area. I would like to show you my other, the Zoom-a-thon is in the way. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so this is just a colorized graphic just so to make it easier. So this whole area in green will be lawn, and so that's where the proposed grading is going to be. The whole orange area is the meadow habitat, and there's the 100-foot line is the light blue one, and this is the 200-foot. So that's basically the project. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
I have a couple, but the Celtec that you're using, what material is that? Is that a material that composts and biodegrades over time, or that's something that will remain in place?
I think I'm not entirely sure, George. I think it's something I think it's made out of
Like
plastic.
plastic or rubber?
Believe, I'm not entirely sure. George, do you know?
Do you
Yes,
have
it
a
remains
sorry.
in place to hold the soil in place, as well as potentially when the vegetation kind of grows, will provide an extra support.
Right, but so it doesn't biodegrade over, like it's not meant to compost
Yeah.
in place or anything like that.
I don't believe so. Yeah, I think it's
Do
meant
you
to be
have
like permanent stabilization.
Did you include a spec sheet of what that material is in your submittal? I didn't see it, but
For this cell tech stuff?
yeah.
No,
If
this is
not,
the only this
okay.
is the only detail that we submitted. We can probably get some more information on you on what it's made out of. But this is all the information on the cell tech
Okay.
stuff that we submitted.
Okay, thank you.
I believe I sent a bunch of things initially that they're in a Dropbox file. I'm not sure if you guys have an access, but we can resend them.
All I have is the, in terms of what's been submitted since the NOI was submitted, is just Ryan's PDF of the NOI with the
With the
plans.
plan.
So talk us through, Ryan, how this meets performance standards for riverfront area.
So I can go into, so this was part of the submission. So we did this under redevelopment because a portion of it is, you have the house in it, it's previously disturbed and degraded. It is below that 10%.
So what is degraded on the site?
The house, I can go.
So so that's not how I interpret the regs. If you were to be tearing down the house and proposing a house in the same spot, that would be degraded. It's lacking topsoil, it's lacking the ability to be a functioning riverfront area. Perhaps the top of slope where the driveway was, but lawn is not degraded.
Right.
And
Yep.
we can't look at the big old pile of dirt as degraded, because this is under an enforcement order, right? So
Correct. Yep.
that is not existing conditions that we're now coming into as a previous degraded thing. So I would like to see you show us how this meets performance standards for 10.584.
So under new development. Okay.
Or some sort of patchwork between the two. But the slope, the lawn and slope, it does not fly for me that that's degraded.
No, we're not saying that this whole area, that the slope that was brought in, we're not saying that that's degraded. We're just calling the house degraded, and then the whole area where the soil was brought in, the existing lawn, is just previously disturbed. I know it doesn't really mean anything in the regs or anything like that, but that's how we're just classifying it, as those two sort of things. But we can submit more information on the new development standards, or sort of a mix, and go in that. And excuse me. And get back to you on that.
I think
So, yeah.
that would be really helpful.
Okay.
Because I'd hate to start discussing this and going down a rabbit hole and then end up right back to this conversation.
Understood. Yep.
Do you have those calculations, or is that something that we need to continue and reconvene on?
So the calculation, so
I moved you guys.
So we have these calculations here. So existing riverfront, total and broken down here, existing degraded.
So
that's
okay. So I see those. So one caveat with throwing this under 10.584 is the statement is that the issuing authority may allow blah, 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 square feet, etc., provided that a 100-foot undisturbed vegetated buffer is provided, and you guys are proposing alteration in the 100. So I understand that you're proposing to, I guess, restore it to more of a wildflower meadow. So you're gonna want to call that out more clearly.
Okay, yeah, that's that 705 square feet.
And that's the only there's only 705 square feet of alteration within the inner 100.
Yes. And so that's, so that area is already sort of lawn disturbed area currently, and we're changing it back into sort of a meadow habitat, and eventually, just let it naturalize on itself.
So-
30 years down the line, it'll be forested.
I think that the long-term plan for that area sounds good. I am concerned that that lawn is being labeled as just. You guys got all these little categories that don't mean anything under the regs in your chart.
Yeah, I hear you. It's just an easier way of we've found out of describing to commissions the differences between these areas.
A little, I mean, I'm not gonna get on a soapbox here, but it's
Yeah.
a little misleading to call it disturbed because that makes it sound like it's degraded when it's lawn, and that specifically is something that is not considered degraded.
Yeah, and well, that's why we made that clarification that degraded is lacking topsoil, it can't grow anything. Disturbed is, it's not forested, it's not shrub habitat, it's lawn and whatnot. So
But it
that's
provides some function to Riverfront.
yes, I don't disagree with you.
Not ideal, but it provides some function. Okay, so why don't you tidy up the chart for us, and write us up a narrative on how this meets 10.584.
Okay, we can do that, and then do you guys, just a quick clerical note, do you guys, is it a week before, 2 weeks before the meeting? What is your sort of policy on?
No later than a week before.
Okay.
The sooner you can get it, the better.
Yeah, of course.
We're we're volunteers and we don't have an agent, so.
Understood.
Okay. Any other thoughts at the moment? I know Rebecca had questions on the cell tech, performance standards. Do we want to go back out? It's been a year. It might be good to see where you're proposing some of, and did we talk about what the actual final slope is proposed? The grade of the final slope?
Yes, I believe, is it mentioned on here? It's either, is it 1-to-1 or 2-to-1? I think I have that information from the engineer. I don't know if it's, or if George, that information off the top of your head.
That is really steep.
It is, I know, and that's why we're using the Celtec grid slopes, because originally we had a plan for, retaining walls sort of all on these areas, but that was going to be too sort of costly, and have to get an engineer if they're more than 4 feet tall and all that stuff. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry, George, did you say what the slope is? Did I cut you off?
You have 1-to-1 at the Celtec, and basically gets smaller as it gets into the smaller areas.
What was the slope pre soil importation?
On the side over here,
I can't see where you're pointing, George.
yeah, I know.
Just say top, bottom, left, right.
Bottom, where you have the outer riparian zone, pretty much that they used to go almost 1-to-1 until it hits the I want to say probably 300.
Yeah, so so I'm guessing, so this is sort of where the pile is. Everything beyond this, all of this over here, and I know it's hard to see under this, but that's sort of the natural slope it looks like.
When you calculate up the other stuff for us, just tell me what the existing pre soil importation slope was, and then what the proposed slope is, and just the numbers. So we have it in the documentation, and we can talk about that.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about, before we move on, because I'm probably gonna have comments on this and I don't want to do it again later. Should we move forward with some sort of plan to leave it as this proposed is? What, do you have your erosion control plan in this file?
So
Just-
here, this,
So just the bottom of the slope.
yeah, so just the bottom of the slope is gonna be silt fence and filter sock. I don't think we have a detail on here. Oh, we do have a detail.
So
I might encourage, sorry, Kim, go ahead.
I want to say my sentence and then you can jump in. I will definitely be requiring, or we would ask the commission to vote on requiring duplicative and robust erosion controls, since you're proposing a 1-to-1 slope.
Yep.
I have seen things over the summer, and I know it was an outrageous rainfall year with 3-to-1 and 4-to-1 slopes having immense erosional breakouts. And if we're proposing a 1-to-1 slope, I want to see slope interruptions. I want to see, duplicative erosion control as this is phased in. Should we?
Okay, yeah, no, that's totally reasonable.
I would echo the same, Kim. And my other comment, not only, and maybe Kim, you were referring to this too, but where you have 1-to-1 and you have your erosion control, but also back further even towards the house, and making sure that those areas have, during construction, again, if it's approved, erosion control and duplicative erosion control measures in that area.
Yep.
Versus,
So you're saying in all these areas here, kind of along all these
Yes.
areas too. Yep, understood.
Erosion control will get duplicated and will get moved as the one that it's indicated right now. It's going to stay as a sort of as an initial stage to kind of separate the area. You're going to have intermediate ones once the house starts moving, then pretty much things are going to start shifting. And
I want
have
to. I gotta have we're gonna have to have that on something, so we can refer back to it. That's gonna be really important, and we're gonna definitely have to have a pre-construction check of all of the erosion controls, and probably intermediary checks as we go forward. Just, it's a very steep slope, and the summer has changed me.
you can come and see it hasn't moved.
Yours is probably the only pile that hasn't moved, if that's the case.
You know how to do things. Typically, things work well. When you don't know how things, to put them together, typically
I
that's
think
what happens.
it's the erosion control blankets. You guys did a great job installing those. That was definitely something that was good to get done early. Okay, so
I got
Any
a question. What is this Celtec up here around all these different lawn circles? Is that Celtec there too, or what is that? Yeah.
That's going to be just the grading.
Pardon?
It's going to be just the regular grading with seeded pretty much. Nothing. Not going to be a Celtec there. The Celtec's going to be only on the closely spaced lines that you can see.
so down in the almost 100-foot area.
Yeah, so all along this, basically where we're doing the whole meadow habitat, this whole slope here will be Celtec. All these smaller ones in here will not be. They'll just be normal grading and seeding.
Do you have I know you talked about the arborvitaes, but do you have a planting plan for those?
For the
areas?
arborvitae.
So I
For
know you
this-
talked about the arborvitae, but
Yep.
where your mouse is right now, so those types of areas, do you have
These whole areas?
Nope, the ones like you said it was going to be graded and seeded. Is there some sort of planting plan that you guys have for those?
For these?
Yes, the high contoured areas.
Oh, so I think this is just going to be lawn as well, right? Right,
gonna be
George?
lawn.
These areas will just be, the graded areas all on here, but the step downs will all just be lawn, correct, George?
Oh,
Okay. Are you planning to do like a bonded fiber matrix or just turf and prey?
George. I don't know what type of lawn he's proposing, but
That, I mean, that's a way to, you're familiar with bonded fiber matrix for holding together, so
Correct.
for erosion control, and it also has a hydroseed in it, so it gets sprayed on, and it's supposed to help hold together the slope while the seeds are taking.
yeah, it's sort of like a tackifier almost.
So it has a tackifier in it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like mulch.
Yeah, well, most likely that's what's gonna be needed. It all depends again on the time of the season that's gonna get done, completed.
Maybe throw that into your erosion control plan, what you're planning to include, stick the slope together with.
Okay, we can do that.
Great. Questions for us? Anybody from the public have any questions on this particular filing? Just gonna take a look. I don't see any hands being raised. Okay, so any other comments, Don and Rebecca, or before we move to continue?
Not at this time. So motion to continue.
A second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Don,
Aye.
Rebecca,
Aye.
great. Okay, we'll see ya when you send us that info.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
Have a good
Yes.
night. Okay, next we have a notice of intent for 4 Craig Drive.
Hi, this is Patty Burns. Can you hear me?
Hi, Patty. I can hear
Hi.
you.
So we're back again for these 4 trees. And
And all the other stuff, but yes, go on.
the current situation that I'm aware of is that we submitted an NOI in early October or late September to the town and to the state.
Mhm.
And it's still sitting on their website as submitted, but nothing has
You have a file number.
moved forward.
You have a file number.
Okay, we didn't see it.
Did you go to the NOI lookup page?
I think so.
So it's EEA on, I can drop a link into the, just for your,
Okay, that'd be great.
for your
Yeah,
benefit.
we only saw submitted, so we figured it was still under review. So that's good that there's a file number. Great.
Hold on 1 second. Everyone in the meeting, in case you're interested, you can look up any NOI filing in the state this way. So let's go to Clinton, just gonna double check. And 4 Craig Drive has been issued file number 135-0302. We click on details. And it doesn't appear that there are any additional comments. So I'm not sure if you're talking, did you submit on EDEP?
Yes.
Okay, so.
And we did our hand, we did a hard copy as well that they had requested.
So EDEP is a pass-through website. So you submit it on EDEP, it's received. That's all it's ever going to say is submitted. You have to then go to the NOI lookup portal to look up your file number. There's an email that usually goes out to whoever submitted it.
Never got the email. Never got any contact from the state. Yeah.
Well, you
It
have a
may
file-
have ended up in your junk or spam because it comes through almost like automated from DEP. It's not from a person at DEP.
Okay, it didn't come to mine. I will check with Elise and see if it came to hers.
Okay, so regardless, do you have, just, for the record, this is the first public hearing on the notice of intent, so we have to go through it because it is a public hearing. Are you able to share your screen and go through the site plans?
Let's see. Can you see it?
No.
Okay. So not only is this the site plan but it's also the restoration plan.
Yep.
We didn't submit, and we were advised not to, I believe, not to submit the restoration plan to the state, just to submit the site plan. So that's what we
So,
did.
that's fine. The restoration plan is being handled on the enforcement order, but we would
Right.
probably include a monitoring period condition under this order of conditions.
Right.
So that is fine.
Yeah, and here's our plan that went into the state. Our situation was that there were 4
We're-
trees and
We're
then,
not able to see your screen. If you were,
Oh, you're
so you
not?
gotta go to the drawer, at the bottom, it's green button, says share screen. Open that up and then pick your screen. And then in the bottom right corner, it says share. So then you hit share and then it will go.
yeah, I did that and it wasn't, so I'm in share screen.
And then pick the item that you want to share.
Uh-huh. And I think this is the site plan. Yeah.
Great.
All right, so did you read the NOI or do you want me to go through the narrative or
I
how would
did.
you like to?
I
move
looked
forward?
at it, but I think, we're entering this into the record, so please
Okay.
present to us as if.
All right. The initial enforcement action order was issued by Clinton Conservation on November 22nd, 21st, 2022. The applicant looked around for someone to help him out and came to us. And we met here at the Conservation Commission and followed through with the restoration plan that was requested on the enforcement action. That was submitted in June. We never saw any minutes or anything on that, but we did talk with your then agent, Lauren Bimler, who she advised us on what we had to do. We were kind of surprised that it went to an NOI, but there we are. So the applicant now had an NOI, and the issues that were being addressed for the NOI included the 4 trees, 2 of which had been already cut to the ground, and they were in the 100-foot buffer, but not within the 25. And then portions of 2 others were delimbed within the 25-foot buffer. And so and that was a total of 34.72 square feet in the buffer, in the 25-foot buffer, and 141 square feet in the 100-foot buffer. So we're talking about a relatively small area. While we were in this mode, the Conservation Commission suggested that we add the historic patio into the NOI. So it predates some of these buffer requirements, but 120 square
I'm not
feet.
sure that it predates any buffer requirements because the Wetlands Protection Act has been in existence for almost 50 years or more. And this patio was built after this home was permitted without any permits. So I don't know if I would call it historic and predates any buffer requirements. But
thank you for your advice.
The point of including it was to protect the homeowner in the future should they sell the home and somebody else finds an unpermitted work. So that was the intent.
They had 120 square feet of historic patio that fell within the 25-foot buffer.
We don't have a 25-foot buffer in town. We have we don't have like we don't have a bylaw, so I'm not sure what the 25 is in reference to. We have a 100-foot jurisdictional buffer zone, and we don't have special requirements between that and a 25.
Okay, and so the state doesn't have any interest in the 25-foot either.
We don't have a bylaw, so we implement the Wetlands Protection Act on the same values that the state does.
Okay,
Yes, I believe what we have asked in the past is where most of the work occurred within or just outside of 25 feet from BVW. That may have been something you heard frequently in other meetings is within 25 feet, can you identify what occurred just in terms of orienting the commission to the site, but not to regulatory requirements, because as Kim just said, it's under the Wetlands Protection Act relative to that 100-foot buffer, not specific and isolated to the 25.
well, on page 3 of our narrative, we broke down the square footage and the square footage within 25 feet from the wetlands and 100 feet from the wetlands. So we had 120 square feet that fell within 25 foot of the buffer and 1,750 square feet that fell within the 100 foot, actually within 50 foot from the wetlands. And that is that is the scenario that that we are looking at. So hopefully,
One thing that I'm not seeing on here, and maybe I'm misunderstanding what we talked about at a past meeting, is there was a bunch of brush or smaller seedlings, so seedling sized vegetation along and within, definitely within that 25 feet from the BVW there. So I'm
Yes.
curious,
We-
are you including that in your number?
we covered that in our original restoration plan.
Yeah,
And they were cut at 1 to 2 inch native trees, for the most part, native trees.
Yep.
And they were really small. I wouldn't call them brush. They were just cut off at about 3 foot. We noticed last March when we were out there delineating that most of them had generated their leaves. And then Kim told us in the last meeting in July when she was out there, or June, that they noticed that they didn't see any that hadn't
I
regenerated.
haven't been out there.
So, okay, so maybe it wasn't you, Kim, it was
No.
one of the members of the Conservation Commission, maybe even Lauren.
Lauren,
That
you just said
Lauren does not go out. She wasn't our agent. She was an administrator. So only doing administrative work. She would have not been out to the site.
Who said that? But anyway, the regeneration had come about. And so it was suggested that we do not add them into the NOI, but we did put it into the restoration plan. We did compensate for that in the restoration plan, because at that time we weren't 100% sure they were going to regenerate.
So what is the progress in the restoration plan?
So we're waiting on the town to say that we can move forward with it. We would love to move forward with it, but we were told we were in a stop order until we had the NOI completed. So we stopped and we're waiting. And it's actually getting to the point where it's a little concerning for the winter coming up. There are 2 trees that are very unstable. They're proximate to the home and including bedroom windows of a toddler. And the desire is, if the town is still maintaining the stop order, that they please let us do an emergency order to at least cut these trees to the 3 foot level, so that the homeowner is no longer in jeopardy. But we would ideally like to see closure and a order of conditions that say we can move ahead with the restoration plan, because that's where we want to be. It's a little late in the season at this point. Our goal was to get somebody in there this fall, but that didn't happen. I think the most important thing is right now, is that we are given the approval to go in on an emergency level and take tree number 3 and tree number 1 down to 3 feet. So that the house and these are pretty tall trees, around 75 feet. So they do pose a risk to the house.
So just one point of order here. Trees in themselves and tall trees may be under other jurisdictions, like in homeowners insurance or something like that, might trigger an emergency. Under the Wetlands Protection Act, it does not. This is exactly why the enforcement order was issued, because these trees were being removed within jurisdictional area without any permitting. And again,
I
it
think
doesn't.
everyone's aware of that, Rebecca.
Yep.
But
Okay,
our
so
big issue right now
excuse
is
me,
we've been
excuse me.
stalled for
So
quite a while.
for what's been going on, I think there was some miscommunication in the beginning to get what on your end and the applicant's end to get this in front of the commission, the plan. Now we have that. And it sounds like we
In
have the
June, you had the
information.
plan.
It sounds like we have the information we need.
Hey, Patty.
I personally would not be voting. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm reminding Patty to please let you finish.
Okay, thank you. I am not leaning towards voting a specific emergency permit to be isolated from this notice of intent. I think the work and the restoration is all incorporated into this already, and I think that's what the commission will be considering and voting on. There's an enforcement order already, so we can't be issuing an emergency. And again, other commission members may have other thoughts, but we can't be issuing an emergency permit for something that we issued an enforcement order explicitly for, and was one of the main reasons for doing so.
So you've
Are there
had
any
the restoration
are there any
plan since July.
conditions? Are there any conditions or any additional information that other commission members feel we need on this plan?
The last thing I recall about, so for me, I see the restoration plan at this point, and the implementation of it as separate because it is under the enforcement order. I see the approval of the removing the trees as pursuant to this notice of intent only. I think we can set aside the, I don't think we need to, what I'm trying to say is I don't think we need to have the restoration done before we approve the next step.
I agree.
I think what we left it at, Patty, was you had a number of plants on that planting plan that was proposed that were not county specific native. And I recall suggesting that we run that list through GoBotany and make a few changes.
We already ran it through GoBotany. We didn't find any problems, but we gave enough alternatives. So if you'd rather have flowering dogwood than redbud, we'll put in flowering dogwood.
Right. So,
it's not a big deal.
So let me finish.
Mm.
I know you're here to represent your client, and it's not helpful when we are being continually interrupted. So I don't have a problem approving this notice of intent at this point. I think we've seen the site. The trees are half cut. The purpose of the notice of intent was to memorialize the impact work and approve the work. The restoration is separate and can be done over the spring. So I don't have a problem moving forward with the notice of intent at this point. Had this come to us as a brand new notice of intent, the work not being done, we probably would have approved it because it doesn't not meet performance standards, right?
What would you like us to do for the restoration plan? Very specifically, I need to know because we keep on coming back to plan, we're going in circles. So if you could itemize what you want.
I'm not the agent. I'm not the consultant. I'm not the agent. I just told you what we wanted, and you made the suggestions of you don't want redbud. I'll do flowering dogwood. Great.
We already have it on the plan.
Great.
As flowering dogwood.
Great. That's what we're saying. Great.
Okay. So how can we move forward with this project?
let us make our comments and vote, Patty.
Okay, great.
This is not helpful.
Thank you. I didn't know.
So, any other comments or thoughts? And just to confirm, a butter notification went out for the notice of intent?
It took a couple of months to get a butter certified list, but we got it. And it went out before the NOI went in.
And did you submit your green cards to the office, to the building
I don't-
department office?
Pedro, what's this? I'll get that with Pedro. I'll find out where they are.
That's also part of
He
what
has
brought
that.
it, so that's part of what brought it to the commission, is there were neighbor complaints about work being done. And part of the Wetlands Protection Act is that there is work like this is afforded a public hearing. So
Yeah.
this is the public hearing for it, so it's important that the abutter notifications went out.
Okay, I gave you you want the actual green
Those
card?
are supposed to be
Yes.
submitted for the physical file.
Great. I gave you the certified mail return receipt. They're in the NOI, the photocopies of them.
Great.
If you want the actual green card, oh, we can do that, but
Just submit it to the office. I don't need them tonight.
you want the individual little tiny green cards.
They go,
Wow.
it is standard, Rebecca, is it standard practice to receive those? And they go.
Yep.
So we've always just submitted
Patty,
the
how long have you been working in Massachusetts under the Wetlands Protection Act specifically?
a bunch of cases. And so all the other towns we've worked in, they're very happy with just a
I really feel like we're getting into the weeds here, and like,
okay.
the point is that I just asked you, did the
Okay.
abutter notification go out?
And so
there-
who do I send those green cards to?
Send them to the building department.
To the building department. Okay, those are the kinds of things that are different in this town, and we just need a little bit of information on. Okay,
We don't currently have an administrative staff for the Conservation Commission.
yeah,
Completely volunteer at this point, so.
okay. All right,
I don't have any other comments. So the plan is to take the trees down to 3 feet, and then what, are we eventually stumping to grade, or are we leaving them at 3 feet?
oh, we're doing what we had originally proposed. We wanted to take them to 3 feet right now because we hadn't gotten an approval from you, but we had winter coming in. Our certified arborist, who was actually doing the delineation and with me, said these are dangerous. So that's why, with having a certified arborist say that, I wanted to make sure that we protected the homeowner if we could.
Okay, so they're
Um,
not being stump ground, you're taking them down to 3 feet.
That just for now, the restoration plan that we presented several months ago took them down to 3 feet, down to the ground, to the stump. And there was a soil erosion sediment control plan
Right.
that one of your
Okay.
colleagues, Dave, thought was pretty beyond what he usually sees. So we didn't expect to be still sitting here.
I mean, how long did it take you to get us the notice of intent? It's not like you've been in front of us every month with the same notice of intent, and then we
Yeah,
had.
because we lost 2 months of the notice to the abutters. It took 2 months for us.
What is that? How is that our fault?
The town didn't provide it to us.
So it's somebody else's fault.
It's not the Conservation Commission's. Great.
Okay,
Yeah,
anyway, so the
okay,
answer to
keep
that
going.
question was, we're taking it down to grade for the restoration work
Yes, that
as
was
part of the
plan.
restoration plan. Okay,
That's the
thank you.
plan.
And just refresh our memories, is there I know we're not putting in something that grows as tall. Is there a replacement proposed for the trees?
Yes, this area C is a large area with, we opted not to put in anything tall. And the area, okay, so I didn't expect to have to go to the restoration plan tonight, so let me see if I can find it. I think that's it. It's called Schedule for the Restoration. And this is where we had the alternative. You could put in a red bud if you couldn't find one, or if the town didn't like it, we would be happy to do a flowering dogwood or a serviceberry. I don't know if any of those are problems.
Flowering dogwood and serviceberry are great.
That would be for tree A. So tree A had that was our recommendation. But we've been through all this in the past.
Yes, I just was asking, I didn't need to know the species, I was just asking if there
And
was.
for the other trees that are over by the edge.
Patty, we appreciate that information that addressed Kim's question, I believe.
So yes, there are replacements
Ah.
for trees that are being taken
Okay,
down.
great.
Great. I do not have any other questions. Do you have any other questions, Rebecca or Dawn?
I do not at this time.
No.
Do I have anybody, just one last, anybody from the public for this particular hearing? Don't see anybody, and I'm not seeing any hands raised, so I would entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
And so where does that leave us?
We are closing the hearing and moving on.
A second.
Yes.
And so you're not.
Please wait until we're done, and then we'll.
Okay, got it.
Interrupting is not productive at this time.
No, I just needed a little more information.
Well, you're familiar with the process with all the hearings in other towns under Massachusetts open meeting law, correct? Okay, so we have closed the hearing. Do I hear a motion to approve the project as proposed with any additional conditions? I would entertain any additional conditions. I would like one for a monitoring period.
Motion to issue an order of conditions with the plan. Whoa, excuse me. With a condition that over 2 growing periods, at least 2 growing periods, monitoring for success rate, 75% success rate,
At all strata.
before, I'm sorry,
At all strata.
at all strata. And a certificate of compliance shall not be considered unless that 75% success rate has been met. In addition to that, if any areas do not meet the 75% success rate, the planting shall be replaced in kind until it meets that 75% success rate over that second growing period.
You're referring to the restoration plan.
Correct, but also in reference to this current plan.
We had a 1 year, I believe, as recommended, but
2 growing seasons is standard.
Yeah.
Which is 1 year.
Also that all species being utilized on the plan or being installed shall be native.
they are. Expect that way.
All right, Patty, this is not a go back and forth at this point.
So we close the meeting. So we are not taking public comment. We're not taking any further comment. Right now, what we are working on is the conditions for the order of conditions for your application. So I would appreciate your patience and understanding and not interrupting as the commission, Dawn, myself, and Kim discussed this and iron this out in the motion. Okay, thank you. Dawn or Kim, were there any conditions I missed?
Do we need to mention the restoration plan being closed or the work order, stop work order being cleared for?
Oh, the enforcement order? No,
That's
need to
outside of this.
it's a separate.
Thank you for reminding us, but that's outside of that's like the separate thing. So once the restoration plan is installed and has gone through the growing periods, it's kind of like a 2 lanes, they're parallel lanes going
Yep.
along with each other. So then we can issue a return to compliance letter and issue a certificate of compliance, hopefully at the same time.
Mhm. And then the last condition I would say would be that the patio area as it exists today shall be incorporated into the order of conditions, and not expanded upon towards the resource area.
I think that's fair. Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Great. All in favor? Aye. Dawn?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Okay, so the next step is the commission will draft and issue the order of conditions. Once the order of conditions is issued, there's a 10 business day appeal period, after which the order should be recorded at the Worcester Registry of Deeds and work may commence. So we will send that, that will be issued via EDEP, so you'll get an email, but you will need a hard copy with a wet signature, which you will get from the building department admin. So they will reach out to you when that is ready.
Okay. They won't mail it. We need to pick it up.
It can be, you can request certified mail, you can request certified mail or hand delivery. Depends on how expeditious you'd like to be in
Okay.
picking it up and recording it.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, so we are all set.
All right. Thank you very much.
Next item on our agenda is the notice of intent for 222 Grove Street, which we don't have a quorum for this one. Because Dawn is your direct abutter neighbor, and our other member is unable to attend. So Rebecca and I can't move it forward without at least a 3-person quorum. I sincerely apologize. I thought we were going to have a full quorum tonight for this hearing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to move this, knowing that he wasn't with us this evening. And I'll just say it might have been nice to know that 2 hours ago.
So the last, I apologize. I really thought he was going to pop in.
Okay.
That was relayed to us.
It was relayed to me that they would be popping in for this hearing. I texted a number of times. I am surprised as well. So I apologize.
Okay.
Can we schedule a site meeting if we think you need one?
Yeah, we could do that. I think it might be good to get out there and look at it again under the context of thinking about a deck and not so much the other items. So can we schedule that? Can we schedule that via email? We have your email. We'll let you know. Something
fine.
soon. Something soon. Again, I'm sorry, and I'm embarrassed that this is happening to the commission. So, and I am sorry for wasting the last 2 hours as well. I really thought we were going to have
I
quorum.
appreciate
And
that.
I was waiting and I'm looking and I'm waiting. So, doesn't look like we will. So we will maybe discuss something that we can try and expedite, at least opening the hearing on this before the next meeting, if we can work something out.
Okay.
Thanks, Janet.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 23 Coin Street.
Schutz, and I am the representative for 23 Coin Street tonight. I'm also here with Mika, who is the engineer, and also Craig Womboat, who is the owner intent to the Conservation Commission.
Your sound is cutting in and out, Tom, just so you know. So I'm only hearing like every couple of words.
An issue.
Like your mouth is moving and then we get like a word.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
So we heard the intro, but it was choppy.
Okay, yeah, understood. So I'm the representative from Goddard Consulting here on behalf of the applicant, Craig Womboat, who's also in attendance tonight. And we also have Mika, who is the engineer for the project.
So go ahead,
I'm
Tom.
gonna-
You want to share your
Perfect,
screen
thank you.
and go through
Absolutely, yeah.
the whole spiel.
So currently we are looking at the existing conditions plan for, oops, sorry, this is, okay, we're looking at the existing conditions plan for the lot. We have an order of resource area delineation for this area here. On site, we have a bordering vegetated wetland, which is shown in this green section here. That was approved. And then we also have an isolated wetland here that is non-jurisdictional under the state and also under in the town of Clinton, because there is no bylaw. In yellow here, we have the 100-foot buffer zone shown. Neither of these are land subject to flooding. There's no FEMA flood zones on the site, etc. So we'll move into the notice of intent. So this does have a DEP file number. That's DEP file number 135-0303. And that is for the building of a access road to the uplands back here where a cul-de-sac with 5 houses and 9 residents will be built. These are outside of the buffer zone to the BVW shown in this blue line right here. We are going to be filling a section of the BVW, and that is going to be 4,175 square feet, and that is shown in this red right here. The rest of the road will be impacts to the 100-foot buffer zone shown in this pink. We're going to be doing 4,278 square feet of wetland replication split into 2 areas, one being 196 square feet of BVW replication in this area in the western portion of the site, and then another 2,082 square feet of BVW replication down in this section. We'll just briefly look at the replication areas and the plants that are going to be in them. So we have a mixture of trees and shrubs in these. In this replication area, we have 9 trees and 39 shrubs going in. That consists of green ash, high bush blueberry, red maple, silty dogwood, spice bush, sweet pepper bush, winterberry, and yellow birch. And then this is the southern replication area, the smaller of the two. And we're going to have similar species, that being green ash, high bush blueberry, red maple, spice bush, sweet pepper bush, and yellow birch. We're going to be having an increase of BVW on the site through these replication areas, and we have a net gain over what is being lost through the building of the access road. I'll let Mika discuss all of the stormwater standards for this, and he can run you through all of that.
Okay, if I could share my screen.
Tom just has to stop. Yep, there you go.
All right. My name is Mika Lassell from Topper Land Survey. And I'm going to try to share my screen. Right, here we go. Is that sharing?
Yes, just real quick, Tom. Oh, never mind. Never mind. Continue.
The property that we're working on is owned by Big Daddy Realty. It's 5.1 acres. This is the existing conditions plan that depicts the overall drainage area of the property outlined in blue, as you follow my mouse. There's 2 main subcatchments. This subcatchment number 10, subcatchment number 20. We analyzed 2 points of analyses, one being in this corner of the property. It's just, there's an existing outlet structure at that location which ties into the drainage system connected to Berlin Street. That existing structure is kind of dilapidated, in poor condition, collapsing, and that's something that needs to be addressed, but again, that's not on our property. So our goal was to match what was going to that from both a rate and also from a flooding perspective. On Coin Street, this entire area is fairly low. and there's existing ponding issues in this area, and I really think it's attributed to the structure here. Many of the abutting properties have created a swale. I'll zoom in a little bit. There's an existing swale near the back lines of the properties along Berlin Street, and periodically this floods. They get approximately up into the 358 contour. We had ran an analysis of what the existing condition was doing, assuming that this is a big bowl and collecting water, and how high does the water go. So we had taken a look at that. The other point of analysis is close to Lindbergh Street. There's a little depression here. There's about an acre that drains towards this area. So those are our 2 points of analysis that we had. The majority of the property is wooded with lots of outcrops of ledge. So we have conditions of, we have wetland areas, and we have shallow depths to bedrock. So we were really limited in what we could do from a stormwater perspective, and particularly meeting the recharge requirements. So that really kind of dictated how we approach and develop the property. So what we have proposed is access, doing an improved access along the existing car path that comes into the property, and extend and end with a cul-de-sac meeting the subdivision dead end requirements for turnout. We initially proposed a T turnout. And what we're proposing is super elevating this driveway and directing the runoff towards the low point non-jurisdictional wetland via deep sump catch basins, going through a stone dike filter, and then ultimately an outlet structure control out underneath the driveway. We have an emergency overflow here for larger storm events. And what we've analyzed here as well, what kind of drove our positioning is for 5 acres and the constraints with the slopes on the property, the outcrops of ledge were limited with a maximum development of 11 lots. So we've shaved it back to what we can do per Wetlands Protection Act, which is 9, keeping in mind that we are limited with what we can do from a recharge perspective and a water quality perspective on the property. So what we're proposing here in the recharge, in the replication areas that Tom is noting, we're carving this out and directing the water from the outlet structures into this low area here, and ultimately it follows the swale. When we met with the DPW, our initial intent was to do pressure sewer. When we met with the DPW, and after analyzing, videoing what's in Coin Street, it was discovered that by the Kilmurray intersection with Coin, the sewer line was in poor condition, and the DPW recommended that we provide an additional manhole on Coin Street at the terminus, at the juncture where our driveway comes in, to just further future maintenance of that line. And his preference was that we do a gravity sewer. So that kind of forced our layout of how we are connecting with water sewer, keeping those 10-foot separation that's required. And that kind of dictated then the width of our driveway to 22 feet to be able to meet the offsets, fit the structures within the street. The 22-foot width is the minimum per AASHTO, and for traffic safety, it's a driveway, not a road, but we were trying to satisfy most of the access issues that potentially could happen onto a development such as this. And again, from a stormwater requirement, since we are 9 units, we have to match to the extent practicable. We are easily able to, in the stormwater report, we analyzed meeting the peak rates for the 2, 10, we did the 50 and 100 year, because the site plan zoning refers to the subdivision regs, which are a 50-year storm. And what we had analyzed, not only just looking at matching the peak rates, but also being cognizant of these properties along Berlin Street and how high is the ponding occurring. So what we also analyzed was matching what's going on there now. Because again, this area is poorly drained, and we do not want to exacerbate what's going on out there. And in the future discussions, what I think this opens up is the opportunity for the town to look at maybe making some improvements to this outlet structure and the discharge out of it, maybe improve it. It could be plugged, there's leaves and debris. So I'm sure that that adds to the existing ponding issues that are occurring in that wooded wetland. And that's, in a nutshell, we still have site plan and special permit with planning board. Our informal meeting with the planning board was come to you folks first. And when we met with the DPW, that was meet with conservation, because we have wetland replication and stormwater to contend with. So the advice was to come to you folks first. We still have another process to do with the planning board. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. If you have any questions.
Does anybody have any questions they want to start off with?
Is that the public or the commission?
No, the commission first.
Then I will certainly recognize you, Deb. So, did you guys consider filing this as a limited project category, since you have to cross a wetland in order to gain access?
We are not crossing a wetland to get, we are filling a portion of it. The existing cart path, oh, did I just lose my screen?
You minimized the window.
No, my Adobe crashed. Gotta reopen it.
So it sounded as though, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Oh, okay, you pulled it up. I thought it was going to take you a minute.
Did it come back? Okay,
Yep.
yeah, my Adobe crashed. Okay. There's an existing approximately 10-foot wide cart path that comes into the property. And we are,
So I hear what you're saying about, I think 22 feet for a shared driveway is really big. And I think you guys should demonstrate that you have adequately avoided, minimized prior to mitigating.
well, the absolute most narrow that for the fire code is 18 feet. But the problem is we have water and sewer, and fitting the structures within there, meeting the setbacks between utilities within the street becomes problematic once you start getting narrower than 22 feet.
So I am not an expert on the fire code. I'm not going to even say that I am, but explain to me where the 18 feet comes from when many communities it's 12 for a shared driveway.
Well, there's 9 units here. So from a traffic perspective.
Okay, so that's not associated with fire then, and it's associated with traffic.
It was traffic and fire.
Okay, so there's just very quick, there's a difference between public safety, like
yes,
getting emergency vehicles in, and traffic that you are proposing to cause by the number of units. So, and again, relaying that back to the Wetlands Protection Act and the space that you're requesting, or not requesting, that you are proposing to be going into the resource area for. So that's the way we're thinking about this, right? So you have pulled up, can you just reference for the record what you're showing?
That's a street.
Right.
Did I lose that?
No, I
my Adobe is
just
crashing.
lost, but the minimum street width is 18 feet. I see that.
Massachusetts Fire Marshal, 18 foot is the minimum. National Fire Protection Administration.
Right,
20.
that's for a street, not a driveway.
Correct, but this is functioning essentially as a street. We have 9 units, so it's not just one driveway for one residential lot. You're still going to have the turnaround from a safety perspective, from a planning perspective.
So the turnaround isn't, I don't think what we're questioning, because the turnaround
It's the width of it, it's the width, yes.
is further into the property away from the resource area. And I think you need to clarify then in your application or provide a supplemental narrative that says that this is a street and not a driveway. Because unless I missed
It is a driveway. It is, I mean, that's what it is.
Okay,
It's not,
so then we need to isolate that and say it's a driveway, it's not a street, and therefore it needs to meet the driveway requirements. And again, this is all related to impact. So going back to Kim's initial comment, providing a narrative is likely what it sounds like you need, whether it's you're saying it's a street or a driveway, whatever. The reason why you cannot be minimizing it is it sounds like what you need to supply the commission. Because we're looking at this as we're already getting to this conversation of, well, if it's not a street, it doesn't need to meet that 18 feet. It needs to meet a driveway requirement, which is 12 in most communities. So really, maybe even reaching out to, and again, this is outside of us, aside from associated with the impacts to resource area, maybe reaching out to the local fire department and asking explicitly, so you have that documented from them that
Yeah,
says what the
we certainly
requirement is.
Yeah, I haven't met with the fire department per se. We met with DPW because there was, for utilities and just general access. But the general.
So again, in the relation, in how it relates to why you can't minimize versus going right to mitigation as you have.
Okay. All right. Well,
so I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
So, and this one's for Tom. So, Mika already said that this isn't a crossing, but under your fee category, you put in a category 4A, which is a crossing under a limited project. And you have not supplied any of the alternatives that are required to go along with the submission of a limited project, limited project crossing for a driveway to reach an upland area. So if you want to speak to that, it would be helpful for you to explain.
We'll certainly take a look into that, and I'll give you some information on that the next hearing, because it seems like we're gonna have to come back anyway. So I can definitely speak to you on that at the next hearing. If that's okay.
I think it would be helpful to consider providing an analysis under 10.533E for this. And consider any sort of minimization that you guys can provide. Because you didn't hit the avoid and you didn't hit the minimize in terms of the narrative for why this is. I hear what DPW is saying. That's really not part of our review.
Correct, but going now, like even for two-way traffic, going to 12 feet is too narrow.
Call it a driveway.
But you want the justification for that.
If you're gonna turn it into a two-way driveway, it's not a driveway anymore, it's a street. So I want to see any sort of stormwater that would be associated with a street versus driveway, because now you're kind of falling into another category.
So where is that specifically, that a driveway width dictates whether or not it's a street or not? A street is.
You're calling it a street. You're saying it performs as a street. Are you guys going to have a private way? Is this going to be a private way, or is it it's a driveway that's 22 feet wide?
It's a driveway that's 22 feet wide. It's no different than in a parking lot. You have access hours of 22 feet. When you have cars coming in and out, that's typically the narrowest.
5,000 square feet of BVW fill for a two-way driveway. Like, this is not. I don't see that this has at all been looked at through the lens of avoid and minimize before mitigate. And that's part of the required analysis for 10.535, 10.53, sorry, 10.555, 10.554, and 10.53E, 3E.
Okay, when you're quoting the numbers, what is that specifically entail? Which code is that? No, I just want to know what subsection. I know it's the Wetlands Protection Act, but when you just spouted the number, I can't write that fast.
The limited project category for a driveway crossing and the performance standards for BBW.
Limited project is 5,000 square feet or more,
That's
correct?
what the limited project is. That's the performance standards for BBW, and it's may
Correct.
allow,
Yeah, I understand it's subjective to you folks.
provided that a void has been done and minimize has been done. And this is this looks like maximize. This looks like your first crack at it. And it doesn't look like there's any in consideration for any sort of avoidance or minimization.
Okay, well, the avoidance, this is the only way to get into the property is via where the existing car. So you'd like to see it narrow. Is there a number that you'd like to see it be to?
I'm not the consultant.
Yeah, so again, going back to the regs, avoid, minimize, mitigate. So when we as the commissioner are looking at this, we're looking to reduce impact to the resource area. And that's what you need to be doing, avoid, minimize, before you get to mitigate. And as Kim just said, it seems like you went to mitigate first. So it sounds as though if you could provide that information, like Tom already is sounding like he's on the page with, and it sounds like
Okay.
you are too, I think that would be helpful for the commission
Okay.
to really grasp what work has been done, if it has been done, regarding those aspects that you need to meet in the regulations as you're working to plan what your project is or can be, so that the commission can properly consider it. Because at this time, I mean, we're not going to vote on it tonight. I wouldn't encourage my other commission members to vote on this tonight, obviously. And I would prefer to have that information before we get into any further discussion, so that I can fully understand how you assessed that that's the entrance that you need to use and that's the width, as we were already getting into that conversation. So I think, again, avoid, minimize, focus on that, and provide some of that information back to us. But I don't know if there's other information from other commission members that they would like to see as well.
Any thoughts, Don? Were you able to get out there on the ANRAD site walk with us for this? I think it was just Rebecca and I and Dave, from what I remember. So you definitely want to get out here, Don. You're muted.
I didn't make it, but we looked at this earlier, right, with the aerial view.
ANRAD, yeah. Okay, I think we have a launching point for additional information. I would open the floor to comment or questions from the public at this point.
Yeah, hi, this is Deb DuVernay, and I'm at 112.5 Berlin Street in a butter. And my concern is the water. I've lived here for 37 years, and it's not if we get water, it's when and how much. And I'm concerned with the road going in back there. It's going to be built up, I would imagine. And I'm afraid it's going to create a wall, which is going to create a pool and direct more water into my yard. And what you said earlier, you were going to have water output. I'm not an engineer, so I really don't understand all that much what you're talking about, but you said you were going to have water directing out and it was towards my property. So I'm just concerned that my yard is going to be wetter than what it usually is from early spring to the end of June. And I don't know when you folks went out for a walk, but the water accumulates back there. It varies. It's always there.
I think it was winter, and I believe it was last November, December.
Okay.
And I believe it was pretty wet when we were out there.
Yeah.
I think it was raining when we were out there.
Yeah, it rained on December 21st and the whole place flooded and it was there for weeks. And then there's water directly behind my house. A few years ago, the kids were playing back there and they built like a lean-to with tree trunks. And in there is water, and I don't see that it's noted on here as a wetland. And mallard ducks come there and swim.
I know that, when we did the site walk, that Tom was not able to cross property bounds, but it does look to me like the BBW goes right up to your back corner.
I don't know what that is.
The wetlands goes onto their land.
Yeah, it definitely does. That's not. Yeah, we have water in our basement constantly throughout, you know, the wet months. So that's my concern. And I think it's a fair concern.
I think your questions are valid. Would you like, would it be helpful for Mika to explain where they're directing flows more clearly?
Yeah, well, I guess I want to be assured that I'm not going to get any more water than what I get in my yard today, once this project is done. And if there are issues after the project is done, if it is approved, who's responsible for fixing them? Or is that just something I have to live with?
So, just as this is just speaking kind of more of at a outside of the Conservation Commission level, water crossing onto your property from a development on another property would be legally considered a trespass, and that would have to be handled through civil.
Okay. Alrighty.
Do you want me to walk through more with what's going on with the drainage out there?
I think it would be helpful. Are you able to see the screen, Deb?
Yes, I can.
Great, just making
Yeah.
sure that you're
Okay,
able to-
yeah, currently, the water, how we've analyzed it, you can see there's a dotted line, this is our time of concentration line coming down. Water comes down this hill, it's all exposed rock, and it hits the flats where the wetlands are, just beyond the car path. And it flows to there's a makeshift swale that, I'm not sure who did, but it runs along most of these property lines,
Yeah.
very close to the property line.
Yeah, it's behind my house. Yeah.
Yep, and it's standing water. It's a swale that's actually level. So what we had looked at on the design, I'll switch over to this. The blue areas are areas that are tributary. This is the boundary of our analysis. This upper portion here that normally came directly to your property is being held back by a stormwater basin. So what we are required to do is hold that water back and slowly release it, matching either a rate that it was before. But in this instance, we looked at it a little closer in analyzing since this structure is in poor condition, we looked at how high does this water pond, and it comes into your backyard. So I'll zoom in a little bit. The peak elevations that we were witnessing was about the 358 contour, just below it. This is your property here. So yeah, coming in 25 feet into your property, I can conceivably see this backing up existing condition as it is today. What we're proposing to do with the wetland replication is carve this out and accentuate the direction of the water towards the wetland and ultimately to this structure here, which is connected to the street drainage system. This is something that would need to be approached with the DPW. Again, this is off our property to make any repairs to that. But I think that this is a real crux of the matter that's holding back water and why it just sits there, because it's just inadequate for what's happening. We took a look at multiple times. We've been out there, took photos, and opened the structures that we could. There's a manhole here that we could not locate that's supposedly here. It's in one of the neighbors' yards, and we're not sure exactly where it is. But within this network, starting from approximately this manhole out towards Berlin Street, the standing water level within the manholes is at the pipe outlet inverts, and that was in March. We took some photographs of what was going on in these structures and took photographs around the backs of the properties just to get a feel as to during the spring and wet time, what is this doing? So that's what we're really, I hear your concerns, and that was one of our constraints is not to make it worse, to match it, to improve this back condition would require improvements to this leg of this drainage system, which is on the Durkin property. And we don't have easement rights or access to do that. And that will be something that the town would have to do because it's part of their street network. This catch basin here is tied to that and ultimately goes out to Berlin Street.
So you're saying the town would have to do that, but are they going to do that?
Well, I'm not, and that's why we designed this conservatively to hold back more water than what is normally required, because I have no control over what the town does or when it does this. So we took the approach that, okay, let's look at where is the high water mark in these backyards? How far does it go for the required storms that we designed for, and, you know, the 2, the 10, the 25, 50, and 100-year storm events. So we took that high water mark, and that's what we were matching before and after our development goes in. So what this development is doing, all these areas, including a portion that's going out towards Lindbergh, we're catching area here, minimizing what's coming into this point, and we are reducing the overall rates that are going ultimately to this corner here by the Durkin property and Marsh and Maloney properties. There's some rebar and some metal cover on it. If you're familiar with the area, you've probably seen it. It looks like someone made a makeshift cover on it to keep kids from falling in it. So it's not ideal, but again, that's not our purview to repair that. But we were trying to match the existing conditions of what was going on with the stormwater.
Yeah. So my husband grew up in this house, and he says that it goes under Berlin Street and it goes across the street and goes all the way down to like near Town Line. The water goes there and then it ends up in the Berlin Brook. And it's all grown in, and so I guess it just doesn't.
Yeah, this leg here, it ties in. We opened these structures here. We went open what we could. These are all in good condition here, but this leg here is the problem for what I think is causing some of the ponding issues, and ultimately helps create that large wetland system out there.
Okay.
I hope that helps clarify a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it does, as long as the town does what they're supposed to. Because you guys could still do your thing even if the town doesn't do theirs, right?
Correct, and that was our approach. I have no control over what the town does, what the powers that be decide. So our focus is what can we do on ours? So that's why another reason this is elevated, that this driveway coming in is acting as a stormwater berm. It is a dam keeping back the water from just shooting across onto the abutting properties. We're slowly releasing it through a controlled structure.
How high will that road be built up?
As in, our utilities are going to be laid down first, and then it's going to be backfill. It's going to be, you know, with dump trucks and filling it up and equipment built up.
Yeah. So how high? You know?
Yeah, the elevation at this. I'll zoom in. The existing grade here in the flat part is about, we're coming up 4 feet at the lowest point, and it's slowly building up. There's a natural swale going up, or like a ramp, and we're trying to follow that going up the hill. What we've done is a gentle slope going up, so it's not too steep as you're coming around a curve from a safety perspective.
Yeah, so behind my house, how high will it be?
You're here, well, you're gonna have a good span of material, I mean, before it even we start grading, there's about 40 feet before we even start doing any filling. Otherwise, actually, this area is gonna be carved down and be replicated with the planting plan that Tom was going over. The wetland soils that's excavated in this location is gonna be relocated here, and the planting plan that Tom had laid out will be implemented here.
Mm-hmm, okay. So is it possible, I know he mentioned the plantings and whatnot, but is it possible to put up a tall hedge of like arborvitaes or something along the driveway for privacy?
Yeah, absolutely. That could be along here, along you, I mean, closer to the property line.
Well, yeah, there or the roadside. Yeah, I guess closer to my property line would be great.
And I don't know if Tom can throw in what can be done from that complements what's in the wetland areas, that doesn't mind getting its feet wet, unless we elevate and for additional safety, provide a berm here along their property line, what they're concerned about, and put plantings along that.
So we can definitely look into what kind of large shrub we can put on the boundary right there, what's noted as the 357 grade. And then if we wanted to, we could do arborvitaes in the kind of slopes next to the driveway, because those are upland plants, so we can't really slap those right next to the replication area, just because that's going to be probably at a similar grade to the wetland around it. So it's going to be sitting maybe in water, and they're not going to live like that. So we'll take a look at some plants that we could probably put on the boundary closest to Deb's house to give some privacy there. And we'll come back with that.
I think that would be helpful to come back with that information. Thanks.
And are you going to be clearing out most of the, or all of the trees that are back there?
I think you could be talking to try, would you be selectively planting, leaving the trees that are there and excavate around as much as we can and maintain existing?
Correct.
Do you have, sorry, just very quickly, did you submit any sort of tree removal plan?
No, we did not, but we can certainly give that to you. I think that, well, we're also gonna be looking at the width of the road, obviously, so that's gonna dictate the removal of the trees and which ones need to be. So I think probably look into that first, and then also come up with a tree removal plan if necessary. But I know that it's mostly herbaceous plants in the area where, or adjacent to where the cart path currently is and where it stands. So we'll look into that, and then in the area where the replication area is going to be put, we're not looking to take down any large trees. We're going to be planting around where I think it's mostly red maples. We're going to be planting around those and supplementing the area with new native herbaceous plants.
Okay, thank you.
There's a few trees close to my property line that I wouldn't mind being cut down because they're overhanging and I'm afraid they're going to fall on our fence. They have fallen on my neighbor's fence and crushed a section of his fence. Just
So
putting that out there.
thank you for providing that comment. I do, before the applicant comments, I do just want to note that that is within the 100-foot buffer, so within the commission's jurisdiction, and the commission actually, typically at least, wants to be reducing removal of vegetation and impact to that area. So just to note, if they're unable to do that, that's likely why.
Okay, so then it's okay that they land on my fence?
Nope. So that has nothing to do with the commission's jurisdiction under the Wetlands Protection Act. That's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
If there are other concerns, that's something that you would address outside of this public hearing. But I think, again, it's important that you provided that concern so that the applicant could hear it. And, you know, maybe they propose something, but again, the commission's working solely under the Wetlands Protection Act, so those are the regulations that we have to go by, which, as you already heard in the beginning of this, is to avoid, minimize, and mitigate if you are unable to avoid and minimize. So that's the lens that we're working on reviewing this project through.
Okay. And so what does the 100-foot buffer mean?
I just want to also note that the delineation ends at your property line. And as kind of previously discussed, it's likely that the BVW extends into that area that you referred to as, having standing water and mallard ducks. And that is a jurisdictional resource area. And then that itself would also have an additional 100-foot buffer zone. So for the purposes of your property, there's no delineation on it. And the wetland and buffer zone could extend farther, but go ahead, Tom, and you explain what the buffer zone is.
Yeah, so Deb, we went through a process originally where we delineated the edge of the wetland based on criteria including hydric soils and wetland vegetation, and that is shown in the green on this plan here. And from that green edge, 100 feet outwards is the 100-foot buffer zone. And that is an area that Massachusetts and the commission has deemed as significant to the wetland and protection of its values. So the Conservation Commission has jurisdiction within that to review any projects or any impacts to that area. And they're the people that are going to be taking a look at all of this. And that's why we're in front of you today, is because we have a road going through a section of wetland, and we're also working within the 100-foot buffer zone. And that's why we're in front of the commission, and they're reviewing our project through it. So it's essentially just a jurisdictional area 100 feet from the wetland.
Okay.
I may have a question for the commission.
Yes.
One of the alternatives that you were requesting was minimize, and we have 3-to-1 grading within the stormwater area. On this area, we've narrowed it to 2-to-1 grading along this edge of the driveway. One thing that can be easily, if the board is open to doing 1-to-1, we can do that. Reinforced riprap. Again, that would bring that in a little bit, a few feet. And if we couple that with talking with the fire department, if they're happy with an access for 9 units being 18 feet wide, that would significantly reduce our wetland alteration area and pull this line inward.
Yep.
Because I don't know if the commission is open to that. Because I would, from a site design perspective, I like to utilize, again, kind of, I know low impact development, utilize what you have, the low points on the property. I'd like to utilize this area for my stormwater instead of introducing somewhere else on the property that really isn't really conducive, and kind of double duty using this driveway as my berm. It just seems to make sense. And then since I have to put water and sewer through it, that really kind of dictates kind of the minimum width of that alteration. And our goal was that since we're filling a good portion to come up to the property, that we don't need to excavate as deep to set those water and sewer lines. If let's say we were just to do a driveway at grade, we would be then excavating down the required 5 feet for water, 4 feet for a sewer. And that would be problematic given the wetlands and the nature of the area. So we laid this out such that our utilities are pretty much going to be laid on what the existing grade is, and we're filling up from there. So I'm assuming that those types of items are what the commission is looking for in avoid, minimize, and mitigate.
So again, I think Tom and you, it sounds like, have some discussion and a review of the project to be providing that information to the commission. Again, looking at avoiding, minimizing, and also expressing why it can or can't be done, which we've already touched upon. So that being said, is there any more comment from the public at this time?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there is no further public comment, I would like to make a motion to continue unless commission members have other specific items at this time.
I think we're off to a start. I don't have any additional comment based on the information reviewed tonight.
Just one simple question I have. This replication area, you're gonna dig that out and fill it in with the, you're gonna dig it first and then fill it in? Did I understand it?
That is correct. We're gonna dig it to the grade or a little bit lower than the grade of the existing wetland to reach wetland soils, and then any excavated wetland soils from the area where we're gonna be putting the road will be added on top just to have, so the plants have a native wetland soil on top that is conducive for growing these wetland plants. So it'll be at the existing grade of the wetland and the surrounding area, just with a native soil on top of it, just in case we can't get to a wetland soil.
What about the one over to the, was that the east, the left?
Both are going to be in the same boat.
This wetland, this area, we're not touching this wetland, but we're utilizing its
I
capacity.
meant the west. I meant the one on the far end over there by Coin Street.
Over here?
Both are in the same boat with the replication and will be treated the same.
So there's a motion to continue. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Don?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
Okay, well, we look forward to the additional information, and thanks for your time tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, that is all 8 of our NOIs.
I have to step away. So if there's anything we need to vote on.
Anything we need to vote on, Gloria?
No,
Okay, thank
Nope.
you. And sorry, Gloria, I have to.
don't apologize. I have things to do.
Ah.
And I haven't had a personal opportunity to say, how lovely. Okay. I will be brief at the end of this somewhat long meeting for you. I have sent you a November report.
Thank you.
There's nothing new on it. It's just updates on the October report. And there is nothing to vote on. So the only thing to let you know is that the Rauscher Farm Management Subcommittee have been considering what would be the management priorities that would cost up to not to exceed the $5,000 for FY24. So we needed, and this is key when you sign things today, we did need the Sam Bell invoice to come in because that's part of that 5K. And once we do that, then we can look at what's left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was just the math question on that. Everything else, I don't think I need to share unless you need to. It's just ongoing updates of processes that actually take a long time to come to fruition. Okay, so unless you have any other,
We got the NOI done, so that's a big thing.
check. Yes. So the next thing is to return back again to the climate resiliency habitat reviews, because there is a deadline, but it can be extended. When the Rauscher Farm Management Subcommittee applied for $10,000, they only got 3. So part of the strategy since then has been working out how to find the alternate resources to pull out the habitat reviews, and we've identified them. and it's mentioned here, but one of them is that woodland re-application there, which needs to get going. And you don't have to do that. I've got the information, but the Rajah Farm Management will bring you a draft. And in the meantime, I'll check with the town as to who signs off on the application to the DC. Okay? So unless you have any other questions, Jim is nodding across the table in the kitchen over a bag of crisps.
I would like to be doing that, Jim.
I'm trying to keep the dog from rioting.
Yeah, we have this, well, some of you may or may not know, but we've adopted the most challenging dog we've ever adopted in our entire life. But, you know, we love him and he's as mad as a hatter and it'll take us a year. We are talking about you, yes, Crosby. It'll take us a year to be, we can't get him out of the back garden and we can't get him in a car. So
sounds like a toddler.
It does sound like a toddler. I was actually said to Jim, what can I say to Kim and Rebecca? Look what you've got coming down the pike, right? You know. So Don and Kim, unless you have any other observations on the materials, you've got the agenda of the meetings, you've got the the approved minutes, etc. So we can always revisit at the next meeting.
I think that sounds good.
All right. So I will take the bag of crisps away from Jim and we'll actually find some real food.
Have a good evening. Thank you for joining and for hanging in there.
Yes, Jim is waving from across the kitchen table. All right. So have a quiet night for those of you who are able to sleep through it. Take your pick.
We'll see.
All right. Okay.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Don. Bye, Kim.